Dad, this year we are celebrating Thanksgiving with family. You are not invited. That is how the betrayal began, and I definitely did not deserve it. And when his wife added that I had not yet earned a place at her table, I replied with only one thing. I am canceling all automatic payments. An hour later, 95 missed calls. And then something happened that turned everything upside down. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us where you are listening from in the comments. The message arrived at 3:47 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, 2 days before Thanksgiving. I was reviewing a client portfolio when my phone vibrated against the mahogany desk. I looked down, expecting confirmation about plans for Thursday dinner. Maybe Michael was asking what time I would arrive or what I wanted to bring. Instead, I read, Dad, this year we will celebrate Thanksgiving only with immediate family. You are not invited. I looked at the screen and read it again. The words did not rearrange themselves to make sense. My reading glasses slid down my nose as I leaned in as if proximity could alter the meaning. Only immediate family. I was his father. What could be more immediate than that? Before I could process it, another message appeared in the family chat. Linda's name appeared with that little typing indicator, and then her words materialized like a slap in the face. Maybe one day you will earn the right to sit at the table with us, William. Not yet. I felt a tightness in my chest. I set the phone down carefully, like someone setting down something fragile that might break if handled roughly. But I was not the fragile one. I was the one who had kept everything under control for 8 years since my wife passed away, leaving me submerged in guilt, trying to prove to my son that I could still be the father he deserved, despite his mother's absence. I picked up the phone again. I checked the chat history. I found the thread from 3 months ago where Michael had asked me if I could cover the mortgage just for a few months while he adapted to a new position. I found Linda's message from last spring about private school tuition, how it was an investment in their children's future, and was I not investing in my grandchildren's future? And I found my own answers, each one a variation of course. Done. Sent. Whatever you need. My fingers moved almost on their own, opening my banking app. I navigated to the recurring payments section and simply looked at the list. I looked at it closely, perhaps for the first time since I set it all on autopilot. The mortgage payment. Michael's car lease. Linda's car lease. Private school tuition for both kids. House insurance. Utilities. The premium cable package. Linda's credit card autopay because she had convinced me that her business expenses were actually investments in Michael's future networking opportunities. I murmured the sum, letting every word hang in the empty office. $8,550 a month. Footsteps were heard approaching outside my office. Steve from the suite next door stopped at the doorway already with his coat on. His voice was cheerful and carefree. William, are you leaving soon? Happy Thanksgiving. I looked up and put on my mask. You too, Steve. Drive safely. He waved at me and disappeared down the hall. I heard the elevator ding, and then silence reigned again. Almost the entire building had already emptied out for the long weekend. I was alone with my phone, my computer screen, and a clarity I had not experienced in years. I read Linda's message one more time. Maybe one day you will earn the right, as if I had not earned anything, as if $8,000 a month were just an expectation, an assumption, the price I paid for the privilege of occasionally seeing my grandchildren at whatever event Linda deemed appropriate for my attendance. The screen went a little blurry. I took off my glasses and left them next to the keyboard. Without them, the numbers on my banking app became blurry and indistinct, but I did not need perfect vision to understand what I was seeing. I had been looking at this reality for years without seeing it. I thought about calling Michael directly, demanding an explanation, asking him what I had done to deserve this dismissal. But I already knew the answer. Nothing. I had done nothing but become indispensable and invisible at the same time. I was a checking account with a heartbeat, valuable only for what I could provide, and easily discarded as soon as I expected something as unreasonable as a seat at the Thanksgiving table. My thumb hovered over the bank app. The office was silent. Through the window I could see the sun descending toward the McDowell Mountains, dyeing the Scottsdale sky in shades of copper and amber, beautiful and indifferent. The city would keep moving whether I spent the day alone or surrounded by family who tolerated me for my wallet. I opened the family chat one more time, read the 2 messages again, and then slowly reviewed the list of payments in my banking app. Every entry represented a decision I had taken: compensation for not having been present enough when their mother was sick, for working too many hours when Michael was little. For every perceived failure, I tried to remedy with money, because money was something I understood, something I could control. I stared at the list until the numbers were burned into my vision. My voice came out lower than expected, absorbed instantly by the leather chair and the empty walls. You only want your immediate family. Let us see how immediate your bills are. My thumbs moved across the phone screen with a firmness that surprised me. The message I wrote in the family chat was brief, with nothing to suggest there was a negotiation on the table. Thanks for letting me know. I am canceling all automatic payments today. Have a good holiday. I read it twice. I changed nothing. I pressed send. The little check marks appeared confirming delivery. I saw them turn blue. Read receipts. Both Michael and Linda had seen it. I did not wait for a response. The option to leave the group appeared when holding down the chat name, and I tapped it without hesitation. A brief confirmation dialogue asked if I was sure. I selected yes. The chat disappeared from my screen. I opened my laptop next to the phone, positioning both devices so I could work on different platforms. My banking app on mobile, institution websites on the larger screen. I configured these payments methodically over the years. It seemed appropriate to dismantle them the same way. First the mortgage, $3,200 scheduled to withdraw on the first day of every month. I navigated to my main bank's webpage, logged in, and found the recurring payments section. The entry was there with its little elegant active status in green. The cursor hovered over Cancel Scheduled Payment for about 3 seconds. Then I clicked. A confirmation dialog appeared. Are you sure you wish to cancel this recurring payment? The recipient will not receive an automatic notification. I clicked Confirm. The status changed from green to gray. Cancelled, I murmured to the empty office. $3,200. Not anymore. Then came the car leases. Michael's first. A luxury sedan that according to him was necessary for client meetings, even though his sales position required him to work mainly from home. $489 a month. Cancelled. Then there is Linda's SUV, the one she justified saying she needed safe and reliable transport for the grandkids. $512. Cancelled. While I clicked on each one, I spoke softly, repeating Linda's words in the empty room. Maybe one day you will earn the right to drive these cars. Not yet. The private school tuition was next. $2,200 spread between 2 children. I withdrew them quarterly, but averaged them in my mental monthly calculation. That required logging into a separate education and payment portal. More clicks, more confirmation dialogues asking me if I was sure. I was sure. Home insurance, utilities, the premium cable package that cost more than mine. Every cancellation took between 2 and 4 minutes. Login credentials, security questions, navigation through menus designed to make cancellation difficult. I resolved them with the patience of someone with 40 years in financial consulting, someone who understood that thorough work takes time. Sometime during the suspension of utilities, my phone began to vibrate. Michael's name appeared on the screen. His photo taken 3 Thanksgivings ago when he still smiled at me appeared next to the incoming call notification. I looked at it. I reached out without looking directly at the screen and turned the phone face down. The vibration continued for 30 seconds and then stopped. The silence lasted maybe 2 minutes before starting again. The same name, the same photo. I kept my eyes fixed on the laptop screen, clicking to cancel the automatic payment for the cable package. By the time I finished with Linda's credit card, the last item on my list, the one that had been silently accumulating her business expenses at an average of $900 monthly, my phone had gone through several cycles of vibration silence and restart. I closed the laptop with a quiet click that sounded loud in the silence of the office. The time on the screen read 7:52 in the evening. I had been working a little over an hour. Outside downtown Scottsdale had transformed into its nightlife ambiance. Restaurant patios were filling up. Lights illuminated the sidewalks. People were starting their holiday celebrations early. I gathered my things slowly, laptop in my shoulder bag. The phone I picked up and put in my pocket, still face down, vibrating intermittently. Coat from the hook behind the door. I locked my office, walked to the elevator, went down to the parking garage, and got in the car. The whole time my phone would not stop vibrating against my thigh, like a furious insect trapped in a web. The drive to my apartment took 20 minutes in moderate traffic. I lived in a new complex near Old Town, a 2-bedroom apartment that had seemed too big when I moved in after selling the family home, but now seemed perfect for a person who did not need to satisfy anyone's expectations. Inside, I left my bag on the entry table and finally took out my phone. The lock screen was a disaster of notifications. 95 missed calls. The messaging app showed 43 unread messages. I checked the call log. Michael, Linda, Linda, unknown number. Probably Barbara, alerted to the crisis and trying to mediate. Michael. I turned off the ringer completely and disabled vibration. I put the phone face up on my desk, where I could see the screen, light up silently with every new attempt. In the kitchen, I took a bottle of bourbon out of the cabinet, a bottle I had been saving for a special occasion that never materialized. Crystal glasses from the set I never used because I had no one to use them with. 2 fingers of liquid amber reflected the light over the sink. I took the glass to my living room window and left the apartment lights off. The city stretched out before me in layers of illumination, street lights, building windows, the red and white traffic flows on Scottsdale Road. My phone screen glowed on the desk behind me. Another silent call. I did not turn around. The bourbon was smooth and expensive. I took a slow sip and let it warm me. My voice came out quiet in the darkness. 8 years. 8 years trying to compensate for her absence. They never appreciated a single day. The phone screen went dark. It remained dark for about 90 seconds, and then lit up again. Another call. Another attempt to contact the man who had just cut off their funding. I imagined Michael's panic, checking his bank notifications, seeing the canceled payments, and understanding what they meant. I imagined Linda's fury, her calculations about the bills coming due, her realization that her condescension had cost her more than anticipated. I took another sip and watched the city. Behind me, my phone kept blinking, silent and useless. Tomorrow was Thanksgiving. I would spend it however I wanted. Maybe I would cook something simple. Or maybe I would go out. I would look for a restaurant serving dinner and sit at a table with strangers who owed me nothing and expected nothing in return. The glass of bourbon was half empty now or half full, depending on the perspective. I suppose that was the difference. Finally, I was seeing things from another perspective, not through guilt, obligation, or desperate attempts to make up for the past. Just seeing what was actually there. The phone lit up again behind me. I did not turn around. The city lights were much more interesting. Thursday morning, I woke up in silence. No phone buzzing, no emergency call, no crisis demanding my immediate attention. Just the faint November sunlight filtering through my bedroom blinds and the distant hum of Scottsdale traffic. Most of the city was preparing Thanksgiving dinners. I made coffee. My dining table became my workspace. Laptop open, notepad on the right, pen parallel to the edge of the pad. Habits from 40 years of client meetings. I opened the property documents folder on my computer and started reviewing files I had not looked at in years. First opened was the sales contract for the house in North Scottsdale. I scrolled to the ownership section and highlighted the relevant passage with the cursor. Sole owner, William Marcus. No cosigner or rental agreement listed. I bought it 6 years ago as an investment property, a place where Michael and Linda could get settled while I covered expenses. The word temporary had been used frequently in those early conversations. Somehow, temporary had become permanent. I took notes on my notepad with precise handwriting despite the slight tremor in my fingers I had developed over the last year. Property acquired January 2018. Total price $485,000. Mortgage paid in full in 2021. Title deed in my name alone. Next came the vehicle leases. Both contracts open in separate windows on my screen. Toyota Highlander for Linda, leased March 2022. Lexus ES350 for Michael, leased August 2023. I read the fine print I had barely skimmed when signing. Primary lessee William T. Authorized driver Michael Clayton. The second vehicle did not even mention Linda. She drove it only with Michael's authorization. I murmured to the empty apartment. Sole owner, no cosigner, no rental agreement. It is cleaner than I remembered. My coffee had gone cold. I did not bother reheating it. Friday afternoon, I sat in the same chair. My laptop was open, and I set about researching in a different way. Real estate attorneys in Scottsdale. I read reviews, checked credentials, and compared lawyer listings. I have no personal contacts. I wanted someone who did not know my family. Someone who would consider it pure business. The name Robert Chen appeared on 3 different recommendation lists. Real estate disputes, contract law, 15 years experience. His office was in Old Town, a stone's throw from the weekend art galleries Judith used to take me to before she got sick. I filled out his online consultation form and selected the first available appointment, Monday, December 2nd, at 10:00 a.m. Click Send. The confirmation email arrived 30 seconds later. Saturday morning, I was reading in my bedroom when my phone chimed with the doorbell camera alert. I opened the app and saw Michael and Linda materialize on my screen, standing in the hallway in front of my door. Michael raised his hand to knock, a hesitant gesture, almost apologetic. Linda was behind him, arms crossed, moving her mouth as if giving instructions. I turned up the volume. Michael's knuckles touched the door. 3 soft knocks, not wanting to bother the neighbors. Linda's voice came through faint but clear. Louder, he is probably ignoring us. Michael tried again, a little louder. I watched from my armchair with the phone screen resting on my knee as my son performed the pantomime of reconciliation. Linda stepped forward, her face twisted in frustration. William, open this door. You cannot abandon your family just like that. Her fist pounded the door hard. Michael hunched his shoulders. He reached out and touched her arm. Maybe we should go. She shook him off. She pounded again. She screamed my name 3 more times, each repetition sharper than the last. I saw her face flush in the grainy camera image. I saw Michael glance nervously toward the elevator. I watched them stand there almost 10 minutes before Linda finally grabbed Michael by the elbow and dragged him down the hall. They disappeared from the frame. I heard the elevator ding through the walls. I put the phone down. I went back to my book. Sunday night. I was at the dining table sorting documents into folders when Barbara called. I stared at her name on the screen for several rings before answering. William, please. They are desperate. Her voice trembled. Genuine distress rather than manipulation, at least at first. The children need their grandfather. Do not destroy this family for a single mistake. I kept a measured tone. I am not destroying anything, Barbara. I am simply choosing not to fund those who treat me with contempt. But they apologized. No. Linda told me I had not earned the right to sit at the table with my own family. Michael agreed with his silence. That is not a mistake. It is a demonstration of how they see me. She changed tactics. I could hear it in her breathing, the brief pause before the next sentence. How can you be so cruel? Your wife would be ashamed of you, right now. A chill invaded my chest. My wife would want me to keep my dignity. Goodbye, Barbara. I ended the call. I put the phone face up on the table and watched it light up twice more with her attempts to call back. I did not answer. The apartment felt especially quiet after that. I organized the last folder, slammed it shut, and stacked it with the others. I leaned out my window and watched the Sunday afternoon traffic, the restaurants with their orange outdoor heaters, lit couples walking their dogs, the daily rhythm of those not spending the holiday weekend remembering family failures. I spoke to the empty room. Everyone thinks money is synonymous with love. No one asks what love is worth without respect. My reflection in the window glass looked older than 62 years, tired but not defeated. There was a difference between exhaustion and surrender, and I had spent too many years confusing them. Monday morning would arrive. The lawyer would review my documents, and we would begin the work of dismantling what I had built. My phone notification light blinked ceaselessly, more messages I would not read that night. Outside the city continued its weekend of disconnection, oblivious to the small domestic war, waging in voicemails and doorbell recordings. I moved away from the window, made a simple dinner, and ate it at the table where my laptop and notepad awaited the next day's phase. The silence was no longer uncomfortable, but clarifying. Monday morning arrived with the clarity that arises after an irreversible decision. I showered, dressed in dark gray trousers and a button-down shirt, business casual, the uniform of a man who still went to the office daily and understood the difference between casual and sloppy. I gathered my documents into the leather portfolio my first firm had given me for retirement, back when retirement seemed like something that only happened to other people. I drove from my apartment to Old Town Scottsdale and parked in the public lot near the art galleries. I walked 3 blocks in the crisp December air to Robert Chen's office, a modest 2-story adobe structure with desert landscaping that somehow managed to look professional and modest at the same time. I pushed open the glass door exactly at 10. The receptionist directed me to a conference room where Robert waited. He was younger than I expected, maybe about 45, with black-rimmed glasses and a firm handshake that denoted confidence rather than aggression. "Mr. William, please have a seat." I sat across his desk, placed my portfolio on my lap, and unzipped it calmly. Robert settled into his chair with a legal pad in front of him and pen already uncapped. "I reviewed the basic information from your inquiry form," he said, "but I would like to see the documents. Let us start with the deed to the house." I pulled it from the portfolio and slid it across the desk. He examined it with the same attention I recognized in my own work, someone who knew which details mattered. He took some notes and looked for information. "The vehicle leases, please." I handed them to him. He spread it all out on his desk like a poker hand, with documents unfolded so he could see them all simultaneously. He spent almost 20 minutes reading, comparing, and occasionally glancing at the bank statements I had included showing 8 years of payment history. When he finally leaned back in his chair, his expression had not changed. Professional neutrality, the kind that makes good lawyers valuable. "Mr. William, legally speaking, your position could not be stronger. They have no written lease agreement, no proof of payment, no claim to the property. Arizona law is very clear on this." I spoke calmly. "How long will the eviction process take? 30 to 60 days if they cooperate. If they fight it, maybe 90. But they will not win. They will only delay. And the vehicles, you can rescind those lease agreements tomorrow if you want. They are in your name. The leasing company will take them back." He explained his strategy with the same methodical precision I used reviewing my own documents. First, we would send a formal eviction notice. With 30 days to vacate, we would document everything they did in response. Every call, every message, every appearance at my door. If they claimed I had verbally agreed to let them stay indefinitely, we would have a paper trail proving otherwise. "When can you send the notice?" I asked. "I can have it drafted by Wednesday with courier delivery to their home Thursday at the latest." He quoted me a retainer of $5,000. I did not hesitate. I took my checkbook from the inside pocket of the portfolio and wrote the check with practiced movements. 40 years of signing checks had made the motion automatic. I tore it out and slid it across the desk. Robert examined it briefly, then reached out again. I will be in touch Wednesday with the draft for you to review. I shook his hand, gathered my documents, and left his office with the feeling of having completed any other professional transaction, which was precisely what it was. Back at my apartment that night, I returned to my usual routine. Dinner news the stack of client files I had brought home to review. Around 9, I opened my laptop to check mail and saw Michael's name in my inbox. Subject: Dad, please. I opened it and read 3 paragraphs of apologies with excuses. Linda had pushed too hard. He should have stopped her. She never meant to hurt me. Could we sit down and talk, please? He knew he had made a mistake. I read it twice. I considered the careful wording the way he presented himself as a victim of Linda's influence, rather than a willing participant in my exclusion. The request for conversation that carefully avoided any real acknowledgement of years of receiving without gratitude. I murmured at my screen 8 years too late for that conversation. I moved the cursor to the archive button and clicked once. The email disappeared from my inbox. Wednesday passed quietly. Thursday afternoon, I was in my office reviewing my portfolio allocation when my desk phone rang, sounding like a thunderclap. Mr. William, there is a man in the lobby claiming to be your son and requesting to see you. He is becoming disruptive. I looked at my computer monitor and switched the interface to the building security camera, a feature available to senior staff precisely for these situations. I selected the lobby camera. Michael appeared on the screen, pacing near the elevator. His gestures were jerky and agitated. The security guard stood between him and the elevators, professional but firm. Should we call the police? The guard asked over the phone. I saw Michael raise his hands. I saw his mouth move as if he were shouting. I saw him point at the elevators, at the guard, and back at the elevators. The desperation was visible even through the grainy camera image. No, I said, just escort him out. Do not let him back in. I stayed on the security feed after hanging up. I saw 2 guards approach Michael. I saw him argue, shoulders hunched, just like at my apartment door. I saw him finally turn toward the exit, surrounded by security, his whole body radiating defeated fury. The lobby returned to its usual rhythm. People entering, leaving, crossing toward elevators, undramatic. I went back to my portfolio allocation spreadsheet and spoke softly to my empty office. You wanted to exclude me from the table, Michael. Welcome to the same feeling. My phone showed no new messages. The workday continued its usual course. Outside my window downtown, Scottsdale went on normally. The lunch crowd dispersed. Afternoon meetings began the city indifferent to small family catastrophes. I returned my attention to the numbers on the screen. Asset allocation risk assessment. The comfortable language of a profession with meaning where value could be calculated and consequences predicted. Not like family where 8 years of payments and gifts earned you only contempt and a Thanksgiving exclusion. The office was quiet, professional, mine. I closed the portfolio file and opened the next one. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. I was at my desk reviewing a client's portfolio, rebalancing it when my phone chimed. Text from Robert Chen. Notice delivered. Signed at 10:47 a.m. The 30-day period begins today. I read it twice. I saved a screenshot in the folder I created specifically for this process. Legal documentation. December 2024. I returned to the spreadsheet on my screen. The portfolio needed attention. Mrs. Henderson was 73 years old and risk-averse. Her investment had drifted too far into equities. I took notes on possibly transferring 15% to municipal bonds. My office phone rang 40 minutes later. Michael's number was on the caller ID. I answered expecting his voice. Instead, Linda exploded over the speakerphone. "You cannot do this. It is illegal. We have rights. You are a cruel old man, and we will sue you for everything." Her words tripped over each other, fury and panic mixed in a shrill sound. I held the phone slightly away from my ear, waiting for her to stop to breathe. When she finally did, I spoke calmly. "Everything is legal. Speak to your lawyer." I pressed the red button. The line cut. I opened my contacts list, found her number, selected block. A small dialogue appeared asking if I was sure. I confirmed. Her number disappeared from my available contacts. The rest of Monday passed without incident. Client calls, portfolio review, a lunch with a prospective client consolidating retirement accounts. Normal work, the kind that had sustained me for 4 decades. Numbers made sense. Risk was calculable. Consequences followed predictable patterns. Tuesday and Wednesday continued the same way. I heard nothing from Michael or Linda. I assumed they were consulting their own lawyer, finding out what Robert had already told me. Contesting this would be expensive and futile. Thursday afternoon, I was reading at home when the doorbell rang. Not the camera alert that sounded when someone approached the building entrance, but the doorbell to my apartment door. I checked my phone camera. Barbara was in the hallway, alone. She looked tired, sad. She raised her hand to knock again. I hesitated to leave her there, letting the camera record another failed contact attempt, another piece of documentation for the file Robert was building. But it was Barbara Judith's mother, a woman who held my hand at the hospice even when she knew I had not been good enough. I opened the door. I opened it. "Hello, Barbara." She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Can I come in, please?" I stepped aside. She entered, and I gestured to the sofa. I sat opposite her. The coffee table separated us like a negotiation barrier. Maintaining intentional distance, she sat with her purse clutched in her lap, hands working the leather strap. "William, please. The children, Emma and Jack, will lose their home right before the holidays." Michael made a mistake. "Yes, but families forgive. Do you not remember how much your wife valued family?" I let her speak. I listened as she went through every argument I expected. The grandkids would suffer. Michael was sorry. We all make mistakes. Family was supposed to be forever. For almost 2 hours she sat there twisting a tissue into shreds. Her voice alternated between pleading and reasoning. I remained in the armchair, hands resting on the arms, posture upright but not rigid, attentive, impassive. Finally, she resorted to her last weapon, the one I knew was coming. It would break your wife's heart to see this. She wanted you to be the bigger person, to forgive. I leaned forward and spoke with serene intensity. "My wife would want me to maintain my dignity, Barbara. She did not want me to be an ATM. Love does not look like this." But Michael, he did not mean it. He showed me exactly what I meant to him. A source of income, not a father. There is a difference between family and those who exploit you. She stood unsure. Her face was wet. "I cannot believe you are doing this." I walked her to the door. I did not hug her or comfort her. I opened the door and nodded once. She stepped into the hall, and I closed the door carefully behind her. The apartment fell silent again. I went back to my chair, picked up my book, and tried to find the page I was on before the bell rang. At first, the words made no sense. My eyes scanned the sentences without absorbing the meaning. I put the book down. I looked at the closed door and spoke to the empty apartment. Everyone confuses enabling with loving. I no longer remember that confusion. The afternoon light was fading outside my windows. Traffic noise from Scottsdale Road could be heard. Someone's TV played faintly down the hall, a holiday sale commercial. Cheerful voices promising perfect gifts. I thought about Barbara's face as she left, the genuine pain she felt. She thought she was helping. She thought she was defending family values. But family values without mutual respect were not values at all. They were just chains disguised as connection. My phone was on the nightstand, dark and silent. No new messages. Apparently, Michael and Linda had learned of Barbara's failed mission. Or maybe they were waiting to see if she had sown doubts that would turn into capitulation. They would wait a long time. I picked up my book again, found my place. This time the words made sense. The story continued moving forward. Characters made choices and faced consequences. The narrative arc tilted toward resolution. Outside, the December afternoon turned to night. City lights came on one by one, outlining the familiar geography of my adopted home. Scottsdale in winter. Cool, clear, beautiful in its desert way. I chose to live here after Judith died. Sold the family home in Tempe, where we raised Michael, where every room held memories of her illness and my inability to be present enough, attentive enough. The husband she deserved. I started fresh in this apartment of clean lines and no history. Maybe that was what I was doing too. Starting fresh. Choosing a life without the weight of expectations I could never fulfill, no matter how many checks I signed. The book's protagonist made a difficult choice on the page before me, walking away from something comfortable but toxic. I understood that character better now than this morning. Wednesday, December 18th at night, I was finishing a late meeting when my phone started vibrating nonstop. I ignored it. The client needed my attention more than incoming messages. But after the third notification in a few minutes, I looked down. 3 texts, all from colleagues. Variations on the same theme. Did you see what they are saying about you online? The meeting ended at 6. I thanked Mr. Patterson, walked him to the elevator, returned to my office, and finally checked my phone. 4 more messages had arrived. 2 from Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce acquaintances. 1 from Steve the neighbor. 1 from a former client, all asking the same question. I opened Facebook, which I had last checked in September. I navigated to Linda's profile. It was public, so it was easy to find the post. Posted at 3 in the afternoon. My father-in-law is evicting us. His own son, daughter-in-law, and 2 small grandchildren, with 30 days' notice right before Christmas. We have nowhere to go. I never thought family could be so cruel. Please pray for us. 47 comments, 23 shares. I scanned the responses. Variations on outrage and sympathy. Oh my God, how terrible. What kind of person does this, poor babies? I closed the app. I sat in my office chair, staring at the dark phone screen. This was the strategy shift Robert had warned me about. When legal options fail, people turn to public opinion, the court of social media instead of the court of law. I opened my photo gallery, found the screenshots I saved in November, the family chat messages, Michael's exclusion, Linda's condescending words about my right to sit at their table. I wrote individual text messages to 2 colleagues I had known for 20 years. I attached the screenshots. My message was brief. This is what motivated my decision. I will not engage publicly, but you have known me for 20 years. You can judge for yourself who is being unreasonable. Sent to both. I closed my phone, gathered my things, and went home. I did not reply to the other messages. I posted nothing. I did not dignify Linda's performance with a rebuttal. Those who knew me would form their own judgments. Those who did not know me could believe whatever narrative was most emotionally satisfying to them. The rest of the week passed quietly. Work, home, usual routines. My phone finally stopped vibrating with concerned messages as the social media storm gave way to fresher drama. Sunday morning, December 22nd, I was reading in my armchair when the doorbell camera alerted me. Not my apartment door, the building entrance. I opened the app. Michael, Linda, and Barbara were outside on the sidewalk, not approaching the door, simply standing there, positioned, where anyone entering or leaving the building could see them. Linda held Emma's hand. Michael carried Jack on his shoulders. I put down my book, made coffee, leaned back in my chair and checked the camera periodically. They stayed an hour, a carefully staged family gathering that coincidentally took place outside my building on a Sunday morning when residents were coming and going, and surely someone would mention it to me. When forced to come down and connect, I spoke to my empty apartment, staging a chance encounter. I have managed investment portfolios for 30 years. I recognize a setup when I see one. They gave up around 11:30. I watched them walk to their car. Michael had slumped shoulders, Linda with jerky, accusatory gestures, Barbara following closely, looking defeated. Christmas arrived on Wednesday. I had reserved at the Mission an upscale restaurant in Old Town that remained open during the holidays. I wore a casual blazer and dark trousers. I arrived there at 6 in the evening and left the car with the valet with a generous tip. The restaurant was half full. Couples, families, and a few other solitary diners scattered throughout. I asked for a table near the window. I ordered the daily special and took out the book I had brought. I spent 2 hours there reading between courses, watching the sunset dye the McDowell Mountains in shades of copper and purple, listening to conversations at other tables, the pleasant murmur of people belonging. No one bothered me. The waiter was professional and discreet. The food was excellent. The wine paired perfectly with every course. I paid the bill, wished the staff happy holidays, and drove home through empty streets. Almost all of Scottsdale was inside, with family. The city felt quiet, clean, mine. Back at my apartment, I changed into comfortable clothes and settled on the sofa with a documentary about the Apollo program. Something about men who left Earth, traveled to the moon, returned, and were changed. My phone rang around 10. Message notification. I picked it up, expecting a holiday greeting from a colleague. Instead, I found a photo from Linda's number. Emma and Jack were sitting on a sofa, both looking sad. Artificial sadness, the kind children perform when adults ask them to look sad for a photo, but sad nonetheless. The caption, "Asking why Grandpa does not love them anymore." I felt a tightness in my chest. It was the first real pain I felt since Thanksgiving. Not for Michael or Linda. For those 2 children being used as weapons in an adult war they could not understand. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I could write something. I could try to explain. I could tell them it was not about them. It was not about love. It was about boundaries, respect, and consequences for cruelty. But explaining it to Emma and Jack meant interacting with Linda. It meant opening a door I had deliberately closed. It meant giving her what she wanted. It was proof she could still reach me, that she could still manipulate me with guilt and her grandchildren. I stared at the photo for a long time. Then I deliberately locked the phone screen, turned it face down on the coffee table, spoke quietly to the empty room. "I'm sorry, Emma. I'm sorry, Jack. But this is not about you." The documentary continued on my TV. Engineers solving impossible problems. Astronauts learning to walk on a surface where no human had walked before. Men making difficult decisions in unprecedented situations. The phone remained face down. Silence. Outside. Christmas night loomed over Scottsdale. Families opening gifts. Eating leftovers and arguing about whose turn it was to load the dishwasher. Normal domestic rhythms in normal domestic spaces. I had chosen something different. I had chosen boundaries over belonging, dignity over dysfunction, but choosing did not make it painless. The documentary ended. I turned off the TV, sat in the dark apartment watching city lights through the window. The same view I had seen the night I canceled all payments. The same moment of recognizing what I had become. Convenient, disposable, valued only for what I offered. The phone remained face down. The photo went unanswered. Tomorrow would be December 26th. 15 days left until the eviction deadline. 2 weeks for Michael and Linda to find another place to live. Pack their belongings. Adapt their children to a new reality. Part of me wondered if they were really looking for housing, or if they still counted on breaking my resolve, still believing that given time the right manipulation would work, the right emotional leverage would make me cave. They did not understand what they had done that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. They did not grasp that the cruelty had not been the rejection itself, but its casualness. The assumption that I was so beneath them, they did not even need to be diplomatic about excluding me. That kind of contempt could not be fixed with apologies, photos of my grandkids, or social media campaigns. I picked up the phone one more time, looked at the photo again. Emma was 8, Jack 6, old enough to remember their grandfather, young enough to get used to his absence. Children were resilient. Adults pretended not to be, used them as shields and weapons. But children adapted. I locked the screen again, left the phone on the coffee table, went to bed. The morning after Christmas, I sat at the dining table with coffee cooling next to my laptop. The photo of Emma and Jack was still on my phone, but I had not looked at it again. Manipulation was manipulation no matter how many 8-year-olds recruited. I opened the folder where I kept the vehicle leases, found both contracts, Toyota Highlander and Lexus ES. Read the termination clauses I highlighted in December. The primary lessee could cancel with 7 days written notice. Vehicles must be returned or subject to repossession and penalties. I drafted 2 emails, one to Toyota Financial Services and another to Lexus Financial Services, both almost identical. Formal lease termination, effective immediately, per section 12.4 of the contract. ID attached. Account verification attached. Click send on the first. Click send on the second. Confirmations arrived within 30 seconds. Forwarded both to Robert with a brief note. Phase 2 initiated. Vehicles will be retrieved January 3rd as stipulated in contract. The rest of the week passed in that strange dead zone between Christmas and New Year's. Office was practically empty. I reviewed portfolios, rebalanced allocations, prepared for the January rush when clients wanted to discuss tax strategies. Friday, January 3rd morning. I was at my desk when my phone vibrated. Motion detected at North Scottsdale property. I installed security cameras in November when I realized I might need documentation. The owner has the right to monitor his investment. I opened the app, watched the live feed as a tow truck backed into the driveway. Front door flew open. Linda appeared in a bathrobe, mouth already moving, hands gesturing frantically. I turned up the volume. I cannot. It is my car. I need it. You cannot take it. The driver stepped down from the cab, burly guy in coveralls, clipboard in hand. Walked toward her with the patience of someone who has done this many times. Ma'am, I have authorization from the lessee to retrieve this vehicle. The lease is terminated. You need to remove all personal belongings now. She positioned herself in front of the Toyota, actually put herself between the truck and the vehicle, as if that could stop something. I have children. How am I going to take them to school? The driver showed her papers, pointed to specific lines. Even from the camera, I could see her face go through a series of emotions. Disbelief, rage, despair. She pulled her phone from her robe pocket, started dialing. Probably Michael, probably me. Did not matter. The driver gave her 5 minutes to clear her stuff from the car. Watched her throw doors open and pull out random objects, a sweater, some toys, a reusable grocery bag. Then he winched the Highlander onto the flatbed and drove away. Linda stood in the driveway with her belongings, watching the truck disappear down the street. Saturday, Michael's Lexus followed the same path. I watched that too. Different driver, same professional patience. Michael tried standing in front of the car, arms spread, talking fast. Driver made a call, probably to the leasing company, maybe police. Michael slumped, stepped aside. The Lexus vanished on another flatbed. My phone started receiving texts from numbers I did not recognize. Linda must be borrowing phones now that hers was blocked. I read them without replying. Variations on despair and fury. Then I added each new number to my block list. The week between vehicle recovery and eviction deadline felt longer than it probably was. Went to work, came home, checked security cameras, occasionally seeing Michael and Linda loading boxes into a moving truck they had rented. Thursday, January the 9th night, I sat in my dark apartment with only my laptop screen glowing. Opened security feed and watched. Michael and Linda making trip after trip. Boxes, furniture, lamps. Everything they had accumulated over 6 years, living rent-free. Their movements were mechanical. Exhausted, they did not seem to speak to each other. Around 9 p.m., the U-Haul finally pulled away from the curb. Michael driving, Linda in the passenger seat, both staring straight ahead through the windshield. The house stood empty under streetlights. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark for a while. Felt relief, not triumph. This was not victory. It was just the end of an unsustainable situation, like finally selling a bad investment. You did not celebrate. You just stopped losing money. Friday morning, I drove to the North Scottsdale house, used my key to open the front door. Sound echoed in the empty space. I walked slowly through every room, my footsteps too loud on hardwood floors. The house smelled of cleaning products and abandonment. They had tried to leave it presentable, probably hoping I would not claim damages. In the hallway, I found scratches on the wall, looked like furniture scraped it during the move. In the living room, a dark stain on the carpet near where the sofa had been. Probably coffee or wine, too set to clean. I photographed both, not because I planned to do anything about it, just documentation. Proof of what was left behind. My phone vibrated. Text from Robert. "Move out clear," I replied. "House inspection complete. Minor damages noted. What is next step?" His reply was quick. "Document everything but do not pursue financial claims. It will look petty and vindictive. You have already made your point. Let them go." I read it twice. He was right. Chasing them for a carpet stain and wall scratches would ruin everything. Make it look personal instead of principled. Understood. Proceeding with next steps. I took one more walk through the empty house. Looked out back windows at the small yard they never maintained. Checked the garage where Michael's Lexus used to park. Everything hollow, clean, ready for the next chapter. Locked the front door. Stood for a moment in the driveway, keys in hand. They lived here 6 years. Never paid rent. Never maintained the property. Never acknowledged the gift they were given. Got in my car and drove back to my apartment. The house would sit empty for now. Robert had advised waiting a few weeks before listing it, let the dust settle. But eventually I would sell it, close that chapter completely. Ensure Michael and Linda understood there was no going back. January sun was bright and cold. Traffic flowed smoothly on the way home, past people walking dogs, jogging, living their normal Friday lives. Mine was normal now, too, or would be once I finished what I started. Parked in my building garage, took the elevator up, opened my apartment door and walked into the quiet space that was mine and no one else's. No one expecting money. No one sending manipulative texts. No one weaponizing children. Just silence. Clean and simple. Made lunch. Answered some work emails. Spent the afternoon organizing tax documents for my accountant. A normal life. The kind I had been funding for others while neglecting my own. Not anymore. A week after move-out, I was at my desk reviewing my monthly budget when something caught my eye. The automatic withdrawal section was almost empty. Mortgage payment canceled. Car leases gone. Insurance premiums vanished. Tuition deleted. Opened a spreadsheet. Ran the numbers. $8,550 monthly. Staying in my accounts now. Updated my retirement projections. Watched the compound interest calculations adjust upward. Satisfying. In a purely mathematical way. Third week of January. My phone rang. Michael's number. Almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. Linda's voice exploded over the speaker before I could say hello. "William, please, I am begging you. Forget everything else. Just pay for the kids' school. Emma and Jack did nothing wrong. They need their education. We cannot afford the third term without you." I let her finish. Her voice sped up with panic, words tripping over themselves. When she finally paused for breath, I spoke calmly. "You told me I did not deserve a seat at your table. Why should I pay for their education?" I pressed the red button. The silence that followed felt appropriate. That night, my credit monitoring app sent an alert. Michael's name appeared in the notification. We had connected years ago when I added him as an authorized user on one of my cards, a connection that still showed linked accounts. His credit score had dropped 118 points. Collection activity detected. I reviewed the details without doing anything. Closed the app. Went back to the book I was reading. Financial consequences were unfolding exactly as they inevitably would. When you live beyond your means and your safety net disappears, math becomes ruthless. Early February, I received a thick envelope in the mail. Address written in careful, childish handwriting. Crayon drawings decorated the edges. Flowers, hearts, and stick figures. I opened it standing by the dining table. Pulled out lined paper with clear lettering. Dear Grandpa, please forgive Mom and Dad. We miss you. Love, Emma and Jack. Held it up to the light. Letters were too uniform, too perfect for an 8-year-old. Spacing too deliberate. The phrasing, please forgive Mom and Dad, clearly adult. I put it in the documentation folder, not the trash. Proof that manipulation continued, that Linda was still using children as weapons instead of taking responsibility. Spoke quietly to the empty apartment. Weaponizing 8-year-olds. Handwriting isn't even close. Did she really think I wouldn't notice? Then sorry you got caught in this. Emma, but your parents need to learn. Mid-February, I scheduled an appointment with a real estate agent. Patricia Morgan had good reviews, specialized in North Scottsdale properties. We met at her office in Old Town. She reviewed the house details on her computer. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2-car garage, prime location, well maintained. It is a lovely property. Mr. William, prime location, great condition. We should have no trouble at this price point. May I ask if proceeds are going into another property? My answer was simple. No, I am simplifying my portfolio. This was an investment that did not work out. She nodded. Understood that investment properties sometimes did not perform. Did not need to know the investment had been in family, not real estate returns. Signed the listing agreement. $675,000. Slightly above market, but the house justified it. Patricia said she would have the sign up in a few days. Photos on MLS by the weekend. Before going home, I called Robert. Are you sure about selling? He asked. Once sold, there is no going back. I am sure. They need to understand this door is closed forever. No reconciliation, no second chances. It is over. He was quiet a moment. Then all right. You have been consistent from the start. I respect that. After the call, I drove past the North Scottsdale house one last time. Slowed down as I approached. For sale sign not up yet, but would be soon. Patricia had promised Monday. House looked empty, abandoned. Even from the street, you could tell life no longer lived there. Grass needed cutting. Blinds open to empty rooms. Driveway where 2 vehicles used to park was bare concrete. I did not stop, just slowed down, noted details, kept driving. That night, I sat in my apartment windows open to the February chill. City sounds drifted up, traffic, distant conversations, music playing, normal urban life. My phone lay on the coffee table, dark and silent, no desperate calls, no manipulative texts, no photos of sad grandkids. Linda had either run out of strategies or finally accepted nothing was going to work. The math of their situation was brutal and simple. Michael made $75,000 a year. After taxes, about $4,700 monthly. Their rent in Mesa was $1,600. Add utilities, food, gas for Michael's commute, basic insurance, phones. $3,500 in fixed costs, minimum. Left $200 monthly for everything else. No private school, no luxury cars, no lifestyle they had grown accustomed to. And now collection agencies were calling about her credit card debt. $8,500 they could not pay. Credit scores plummeting. Future loans would cost more. Future rentals would require higher deposits. The cascade of consequences had its own momentum now. I was not forcing anything. Just watching gravity act on a structure I had stopped propping up. Thought about Emma and Jack. Hoped they were resilient. Hoped Mesa public schools treated them well. Hope they eventually understood their parents' choices created this, not their grandfather's boundaries. But that was years away. For now, they were confused kids wondering why everything changed. That part did not feel good, never would. Children were casualties of adult dysfunction, always had been. I had tried to prevent it by funding their lifestyle, but all I had done was delay the inevitable and enable their parents' irresponsibility. Sometimes the kindest thing was to stop being kind in ways that fostered dependency. Outside the city continued its nightly rhythm, restaurants filling, couples walking to dinner, everyday movements of people living within their means, maintaining dignity, not exploiting relatives. I closed the windows. Apartment fell silent again. Retirement account healthier than in years. Stress level down. Self-respect restored. Low prices. The estrangement of a son who had shown his true character. Distance from grandchildren used as pawns. Judgment from those who did not know the whole story. But I had paid higher prices before. Paid them monthly for 8 years. Paid them in dignity, in self-respect, in the slow erosion of knowing I was being used. This price, loneliness, judgment, irrevocability at least, was honest. Made dinner. Watched news. Prepped for tomorrow's client meetings. House would sell. Last thread would be cut. And I would continue the life I had reclaimed. Quieter, smaller, but mine. Late February, I was reviewing quarterly client portfolios when my phone vibrated. Building security. Mr. William, your son, is in the lobby again demanding to see you. Should we call police this time? I switched my monitor to security feed. Michael pacing near elevators, gesturing at guard. Face red, shirt wrinkled, looked like a man barely holding it together. No. Just escort him out. Document the incident. Watched him argue a minute more before security guided him toward door. Shoulders slumped, defeated, felt pity, but it was distant, clinical, like watching a stranger deal with a problem they created. That afternoon, an email arrived. Subject: You are destroying us. Opened it. Read Michael's accusations, my vindictiveness, how grandkids were suffering, how he was telling everyone the truth about what kind of father you are. Archived it without reply. Let him tell whoever he wanted. Those who knew me would form their own judgments. March 1st, I drove to the coffee shop where Barbara had asked to meet. She was already there, hands clutching a cup, eyes red from recent crying. Please, William, for my daughter's sake, there has to be a way to fix this. I sat down, took out my phone, opened the folder of screenshots kept since November, slid device across table. She read Thanksgiving messages, Michael's exclusion, Linda's words about earning the right to sit at their table. Watched her face transform pleading to shock. 8 years, I said quietly. Over $100,000 a year, and I did not even deserve an invite to Thanksgiving. Scrolled to more proof. Bank statements showing payments. Lease agreements in my name. House deed. Every document presented with precision of financial presentation. Barbara started crying, hand over mouth. I did not know. Michael told me you cut them off for no reason, that Linda was trying to help manage your finances, and you got angry. This, she pointed at phone, is completely different. They excluded you from Thanksgiving, then told me I had to earn the right while I paid for everything. She wiped tears. My daughter would be so ashamed of how Michael turned out. She always worried he depended too much on you, that you were too generous. She was right. Reached out, touched her wrist gently. I do not blame you, Barbara. You did not know. But I will not be manipulated any more, not even by people I love. Your daughter understood dignity. She wanted me to keep mine. She nodded, squeezed my hand. Alliance shifted in that moment. Not against Michael, but toward truth. Mid-March, my phone rang. Patricia Morgan. Mr. William, excellent news. We have an accepted offer, $670. Or cash buyer, 30-day close. Thanked her. Ended call. Sat in office chair, letting it sink in that last physical link was broken. When sale closed, I netted $460,000 after clearing mortgage and fees, met with financial advisor, moved it into municipal bonds and dividend stocks. Conservative, stable, funding my retirement, not someone else's lifestyle. April Michaels served with court summons. Credit card company suing for $11,200. Original debt plus interest and fees. Court ordered wage garnishment, 25% of his paycheck. Did not hear from Michael, but from credit monitoring app, still showing linked accounts from years ago. Saw alert without emotion. Cascade of consequences now had its own momentum. Early May, Detective Rodriguez from Scottsdale PD called. Mr. William, need to ask some questions regarding complaint filed by Linda Willis, alleging financial exploitation. Kept calm. Will have my attorney contact you with all relevant documentation. This is a false claim. Send everything to Robert. 2 days later, Rodriguez called back. Mr. William, we reviewed everything. No investigation needed. Sorry for disturbance. False police report destroyed whatever shred of sympathy remained for Michael and Linda. Filing official reports with demonstrable lies was not just desperate, it was destructive. People who had been neutral now understood who was really in the wrong. Robert called after. Filing false police report was serious error on their part. She has put her dishonesty on record. If they try anything else, we can file harassment charges. Let it go, I said. They are destroying themselves without my help. July arrived hot and clear. House sold. Vehicles gone. Automatic payments a thing of the past. Michael and Linda's relationship reportedly crumbling under financial and emotional pressure. Did not follow details anymore. Unnecessary. Mission complete. Was not revenge, just consequences and boundaries respected. One evening sat on my terrace watching sunset over McDowell Mountains. Phone showed investment balance. Healthy. Growing. Secure. Calendar showed client meetings and dinner reservation at restaurant I wanted to try. Normal life, mine, no one else's. Satisfaction was not triumph, was not joy, just peace knowing I had reclaimed something given away too freely. My dignity, my autonomy, my right to be treated with basic respect. Justice, I learned, was not about punishment. It was about refusing to participate in one's own exploitation, about drawing lines and holding them even when people cried, threatened, or tried to weaponize children. Sunset painted sky layers of orange and purple. Beautiful, indifferent. Mountains did not care about family dramas, financial fallouts, or revenge stories. Neither did I. Not really. Story was over. Only living the life I reclaimed remained. August 1st arrived with morning heat already building. Sat at dining table with coffee laptop, open checking emails, quarterly reports, meeting confirmation junk mail about extended car warranties, and then Michael's name in inbox, subject. I get it now. Almost deleted without reading. Almost. But cursor hesitated. Clicked. Dad, I get it now. We were wrong. I was wrong. Not asking forgiveness because I do not deserve it. Just want you to know I do not blame you anymore. You did what you had to do. Trying to be better for Emma and Jack. No signature, no love Michael. Just those words, read twice, hovered cursor over reply, started typing. I appreciate that. Stopped. Deleted. Started again with thank you. Stopped again. Finally closed email without replying. Moved to folder named Archive Not Trash. Received my confirmation. No reply necessary. 10 days later, Barbara called. Asked if I wanted coffee at our usual spot. We had re-established relationship after March revelation. Met monthly now, over lattes, she told me. Michael is working himself to exhaustion. 2 jobs, IT position during day, Amazon warehouse evenings. Linda asked for divorce, moved to Texas to live with her mother, put down my cup. How is he managing? Barely, but trying. Kids with him weekends. He is drowning in debt, but asking nothing from you. Asked me to tell you he is trying. Not so you forgive him, just so you knew. Took out my phone, found photo from years ago. Michael as teenager, smiling with his mother at high school graduation. Showed Barbara. That is the son I remember. Hope he finds that person again. She nodded, sat in comfortable silence a moment, then asked carefully, Barbara, I know Emma and Jack visit you weekends. Would it be possible not now, but someday to see them at your place? Not as part of fixing things with Michael. Just separately. She reached out, squeezed my hand. Think that would be good for everyone? Michael will not object. He knows he destroyed that relationship, and kids need good people in their lives. Next weekend drove to Barbara's house in Phoenix. Carried bag with board game I bought. Ticket to ride. Age appropriate engaging. Emma and Jack in living room when I entered. Froze. That is great-grandma's friend, Barbara said smoothly, not forcing Grandpa label. Within an hour we were sitting cross-legged on floor. Little hard at 62, but worth it playing game. Handed dice to Emma. Showed Jack how to count spaces. Let afternoon unfold naturally. Midway through game, Emma looked up. Great-grandma says you used to come to all our school plays. Why did you stop? Looked at Barbara. She gave a small nod. Life got complicated, sweetie, but glad I am here now. Jack, focused on game piece, asked, Can you come next weekend too? We will see, but I would like that. Game continued. Laughter, simple conversations, no agenda other than being present. Leaving, Emma gave goodbye hug. Jack waved from behind Barbara's legs, still shy but warming up. Drove home feeling something unexpected. Not triumph, not vindication, just peace. Last evening of August, stood on terrace sipping iced tea, watching sun dip over mountains. Phone showed financial dashboard. Retirement accounts healthy. Cash reserves strong. Monthly budget clear, simple. 9 months since Thanksgiving. 9 months since text, telling me I had not earned right to sit at their table. Thought briefly of Michael in warehouse. Emma and Jack in smaller school. Felt neither guilt nor glee. Just acceptance of consequences and boundaries maintained. Switched to photo gallery. Found picture from Barbara's house. Kids and I laughing over board game. Allowed myself small smile. Had not won back family. That was no longer goal. But had won back myself. My dignity. My autonomy. My right to be treated with basic respect. Investment proceeds sat safe in conservative funds. No parasitic payments draining accounts. No manipulative texts arriving at midnight. No photos of sad grandkids designed to weaponize my love. Just my life, clean, simple, mine. Sky turned amber and pink. City below began evening transformation. Lights coming on. Traffic patterns shifting. People going home from work or out to dinner. Spoke softly to empty terrace. 9 months. Feels longer. Feels like different life. Then quieter. I do not need them to be sorry. Just need them to stop taking. And they have. Michael was learning consequences. Working 2 jobs. Managing debt. Parenting virtually alone after Linda jumped ship. Same single parenthood I experienced after Judith died. Though mine by death, not choice. Maybe he would come out better for it. Maybe he would find that teenager and photo the one with potential before entitlement and manipulation became his operating system. Or maybe not. Either way, not my responsibility anymore. Had given advantages, education, support, free housing, vehicles, tuition. They transformed them into expectations, rights, then used them as weapons when I failed to meet expectations. Sunset deepened. Mountains turned purple in fading light. Hawks circled on thermals, riding air with natural grace. Had spent 40 years building financial security. 8 of those years hemorrhaged money into Michael and Linda's lifestyle, while they treated me with contempt. Now bleeding stopped, wound healing, scar tissue stronger than original skin. Phone vibrated. Barbara texting. Kids asked when you were coming back. Are you working next Saturday? Replied. We'll be there. Put phone down. Watched last sliver of sun disappear behind mountains. Sky burned brilliant orange, then faded to deep blue. Justice was not revenge, not punishment, was not even about being right. was simply refusing to fund your own disrespect, drawing boundaries, maintaining them, living on own terms, even when those you loved tried to dictate them through manipulation and guilt. Had drawn those lines, held them, reclaimed my life. Terrace cooling now. Evening breeze carried scent of desert sage and distant mesquite. Inside apartment waited. Quiet, organized, peaceful. Tomorrow, client meetings. Portfolio review. Maybe lunch with colleague. Normal life. Kind I had been too busy helping others live to fully inhabit myself. Finished tea. Picked up phone. Took one last look at photo of Emma and Jack laughing over board game. Then turned and went inside, closing terrace door. Sunset continued, without me. Beautiful, indifferent. Exactly as it should be. If you liked this story, hit like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.